Well, good morning and welcome to another beautiful morning on the farm here. It's actually only right around 0 degrees. We've still got a little bit of the white stuff. It's supposed to get up to like 7 degrees today, so we'll see a whole bunch of this disappear. Anyways, we've already fed the chickens. We're gonna head over and get a little bit of grain to the sheep, and then we're gonna finish closing up the pneumonia hole in the back of the lambing shelter. And while we're there, we better check to see how far along those girls are, because I know we're just days away, but I mean, that might be 30 days, that might be 3 days. I don't know, we'll see. But I know there's a couple for sure getting close. You gonna give the sheep their grain, Charlotte? Are they having breakfast? So we just went inside the lambing shelter there, closed up all the gaps in the back, and fed the girls a little bit of grain over here. And I think we're looking like we're in pretty good shape. All the bedding grounds are up on the higher ground up here. You can see everything's white now, so everything we had bedded down with hay and straw is pretty well disappeared. So that's why we're kind of hoping for some warmer weather. Worst case scenario, we start lambing. I mean, we can deal with 1 or 2 in here, that's easy enough. But worst case scenario, I got some extra panels. We can rig up something in the shop, and we've done that. The year Charlotte was born, actually, we had to lamb out a few in the shop just because it was like minus 35 or something like that. It was brutally cold anyways. So we're hoping for fair weather. That's actually why we waited introducing the rams for an additional 2 weeks beyond what we had done in the past. So hopefully we have some fair weather lambs. So this here is the pallet ladder that we rigged up. It's basically just a pallet that's tarp strapped to another pallet. Not rocket science whatsoever. Very handy though. You can see there's a bunch of girls inside the compost pile right now, pecking and scratching through some food scraps and helping. We're gonna poop in there. They're gonna help keep that compost nitrogen rich. So this little experiment is working very, very well. So I will say the biggest lesson we learned with this though, for sure, is the balance. We want to say a 30-to-1 ratio for carbon and nitrogen, just to keep everything balanced, keep that composting action happening. It's kind of tough to really measure that out as you're just forking chicken manure and shavings out of the chicken house, because in there it's a really dry environment. Out here we've watered it to get some of that heat. Well, we've noticed there's a lot of ammonia production, so I had to add quite a bit more material today, some straw and stuff, just to kind of get everything balanced out. And hopefully, because the wind blows from the west, so from the chicken house towards the actual house, and we don't want to smell this inside our bedroom. But you can see just how much the girls love it. Like, I literally just pulled the compost out of this bunk here, turned it and forked it into there, and all the little goodies that they're finding, little bits of apple and stuff, fruit and vegetables, they're searching out from within the pile. The one thing I did find interesting, so because the compost pile was so warm and the girls were spending a lot of time in there, a couple of them actually did lay eggs in there. And so as I'm turning the pile today, I'm finding a couple of these eggs, and then when they hit the ground, of course, they break open, and they were like 3/4 cooked. They were like a medium poach. It was like, who knew? But yeah, so that's how hot the compost pile is getting out here. So it's doing everything it's meant to do. So that's fantastic. So speaking of fantastic, so yesterday's video was about using wool mulch in the garden, and well, anytime you throw yourself out on the internet, I mean, you're gonna get judged, right? Let's be honest, there's all kinds of people that have all kinds of different opinions, and we encountered one such person yesterday. I think they've probably eaten more twigs than berries, but anyways, so of course they gotta give us a hard time about exploiting sheep for our own gain or whatever. Anyways, so I'm gonna put this myth to bed right now. So there's 2 types of sheep in the world. Well, there's lots of different breeds of sheep, but there's 2 types of sheep: wool sheep and hair sheep. So we have wool sheep here on the farm, and there's a couple of reasons why. It's northern Alberta. It's cold as balls out here. I mean, look at right now. We're the end of March, and it's still winter time. So it's only fair that the sheep get a coat. Well, now in June or July, I mean, we could see the opposite side of that. It could easily be, high 20s. So it's fair to say we want to take that coat off. If we don't take that coat off, well, what happens? The animal suffers. So Does the animal suffer during shearing? Well, I mean, do you suffer when you get a haircut? Absolutely not. You know, it might be stressful. You might have to, you know, answer some questions that you really don't want to answer because the hairdressers like to talk. But nevertheless, the sheep don't have to answer any questions. They just appreciate the fact that we're helping them get that coat off. Now, where does the coat come into play in regards to the planet? So, sunlight, carbon, all the stuff in the atmosphere turns to grass, right? That's carbon sequestered through photosynthesis. The sheep eats the grass and turns that subsequently into two things: protein in the meat and carbon sequestered in the wool, right? There's a lot of carbon conversion in the wool. In fact, sheep's wool is 50% carbon. So now it naturally is biodegradable and will, when used as mulch, will slow release nitrogen and carbon back into the soil. So it is actually a natural process, and we're just relieving the animals of a lot of stress in the summertime. So exploitation for their coats, absolutely not, because there's really no market whatsoever for wool now. There just isn't. I mean, when was the last time you saw somebody wearing wool? It's kind of rare, right? Everything's polyester now. There's a lot of hydrocarbon-based clothing. You really don't see a lot of natural fibers out there. I mean, cotton still is kind of big, but wool, not so much. And in fact, it would cost us probably, well, it would cost us more to try and market the wool than it would that we'd ever get from selling it. So it's not worth our time. So we've tried to use a bunch of natural processes here on the farm. So we've used it to insulate buildings. Now we're going to try and use it as a mulch product in the garden. So now that we got the fluffy stuff out of the way, here's the reality. Yes, we eat them. Absolutely. We breed them, we fatten them up, we butcher them. And and yeah, they're supper time. Absolutely. That doesn't mean though that we can't give them the best possible life while they're here. All right, so in other exciting news, in my pocket here I have a light bulb. Not just any light bulb, this is actually the light bulb out of the chicken house. So they were getting light at 3 o'clock in the morning, just, you know, a little bit of auxiliary light. And I've decided, no, enough's enough. They're getting 13 hours of natural light already, plus a little bit on either side, you know, sunset, sunrise. There's always still a little bit of twilight there. So I'm just cutting them off, hopefully reduce our power bill a little bit, because, you know, the power bill, you can never offset the power bill with the increase in egg production. You just can't. But you know, we still wanted to see, okay, well, if we give them light, can we increase egg production? Absolutely, we did. We had the best luck in doing that by adding light in the morning, and then just letting them deal with, you know, natural sunset and dimming of light in the evening. All right, so here we are now. It's towards the end of the day. Got some good news to share. Got my COVID test results back. Showed up negative. Not out of the woods yet, though. I've had a bit of a headache all day, so we'll see. We'll see how that one shakes out tomorrow. I might be booking another test. We'll see. Anyways, chores are all done. So, time to leave you with my pearl of wisdom for the day. Have a plan. So, when you get into homesteading, you're getting into farming, oftentimes if you're borrowing money to be able to execute it, the bank's going to want a business plan. Even if you're just doing it with cash in pocket, still have a plan. Absolutely. If you don't, it's just, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, essentially. And even if you have a plan, then you've got to work the plan. And I heard it said the other day that, you know, okay, well, if you have a 5-year plan, try and execute that plan in 6 months. You're probably not going to actually be able to do it, but you'll still be a lot further along than if you just waited 5 years for it to happen. Now, subsequent to that, you know, okay, well, I have a 5-year plan. Your 5-year plan can't look like 4.5 years of just sitting on your ass waiting for magic to happen. And then the next 6 months of, you know, complaining and blaming everybody else for this not actually coming into reality. You have to work the plan. Anyways, that's today's life lesson. I'm going to go inside and get myself a cup of tea. I hope you have a fantastic evening. We'll see you tomorrow.